one of my good friends. We went to college together. And so I'd always heard all of these stories about this incredible person that he had that was representing him in his hometown. And I'd hear all these great stories of all of the things that you've done. And you're our modern day Fighting Bob.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
The most humbling part of this period of time in my career and our professional time together has been the acknowledgement that the true heroes of democracy make of us. And see, the heroes in this democratic process are not the public officials. We're doing our job. You're simply expressing the voice of citizens who want to return the soul to Wisconsin and get this ship of state moving in the right direction. We left the state, by the way, when we left the state, we didn't weaken democracy, we strengthened it.
Yes, yes.
We have given people their voice back, and they're using it in unprecedented means to turn this state back around so that it is serving the interest of the people of the state, not the special interests of this state. And while we, clearly the number 14 has become a symbol of hope across this state and across this country, it is really the grassroots participation at events like this. This is impressive to see this many people in 90-degree weather who are out working because they believe in their democratic process. They want this state back, and they're going to do everything they possibly can at a grassroots level to overtake the special interests, the moneyed interests, and make sure that Wisconsin's government represents the people's interests. And that just hasn't happened in over 4 decades, where you have seen this sense of empowerment, this sense of commitment, this sense of belief that we realize that a mistake was made in that last election, and we are going to use the democratic process to reverse that decision and move Wisconsin in the right path. Dave Hansen's election proved that people are more important than money. You are part of the Wisconsin Citizens United movement. The Supreme Court said that money was important in the Citizens United decision. When 100,000 people showed up on the Capitol steps the day that we returned, and tens of thousands knock on doors like you do each and every day, because there are causes bigger than any of us and all of us together, then you know that something very special is happening here in Wisconsin. It was about 3 weeks ago that I was up in Spooner after an event in Rice Lake, and a person stopped me and said, "You're Bob Jauch, aren't you?" And I hesitated. Kathleen might be very quietly.
I just look like that lady on television.
Real hesitance, and you say, yes, not quite sure what the response is. He says, "God, I'm glad that you left the state of Wisconsin." I live south of Hudson. I've always voted for Sheila Harsdorf. I'm not going to vote for Sheila Harsdorf. I'm going to vote for Shelley Moore. Sheila Harsdorf doesn't represent the district in which she lives. And when you look at the polls, and they shouldn't guide us to much of anything other than by being an indicator of society's pulse. When you look at the polls that constantly show almost 60% high disapproval of Governor Walker and of the Republicans because they overreached, they overstepped their authority, they didn't govern, they decided to dictate to the state of Wisconsin what's good for them, even though the people didn't want it. It is no wonder that you have 23,000 people who signed nomination papers to recall Sheila Harsdorf.
Yes.
And when you have an opportunity to meet Shelley, it is no wonder that people are so enthusiastic about her campaign, because she is a sincere antidote to the special interest representation that is good for the WMC, but it is not good for the people who live in western Wisconsin. door-to-door effort that is going to make this incredible difference. Campaigns are won when you have a commitment by citizens to do that door-to-door, face-to-face, and make it a personal, make democracy personal to them. It's one when you have a cause. And the purpose that we all share is we love Wisconsin. We care about Wisconsin. We're proud of the life that Wisconsin's government has provided to the citizens. We're proud of our shared history. And that shared pride in the reputation that Wisconsin has as a state that cares for its citizens. And you have a good candidate. You get those three things together in any campaign, and you're going to win the election because you're on the right side of the cause. People know there's something wrong. They don't like it. And they're going to go to the polls on August 9th. They're going to show up in very large numbers. To put into perspective, and I don't want to talk too long, I understand you're all about to go out and do doors, right?
We're done. We're done.
We're free Bob Jauch doors.
The fact is that you have people who know that this isn't the state they lived in. That's the most common thing I hear. This isn't Wisconsin anymore. I don't recognize this state anymore. And they aren't partisans who are saying it. You're the face of Wisconsin. You can't tell who is a card-carrying member of the Democratic Party, or which one of you is a teacher, or which one of you are retired. You reflect this neighborhood of citizens who has gotten so engaged in this because they're fed up with what's broken in Madison and in Washington, and they want to do what they can to turn it around. Kathleen and I were up for election last year on the ballot, and I suspect that Kathleen's experience was the same as mine in getting nomination papers. I think I got a total of 1,500 names. Submitted 800, 760 were accepted. Isn't it great, by the way, that Nygren thinks can't count very well? He would have lost anyway. But you keep into perspective how significant this moment is. It is when we have trouble getting 1,500 names, and you can get 23,000 in this district, or 27,000 in Alberta Darling's district. You know that they're on the wrong side of the society, and we're on the right side. That's how history is going to judge us. And they are also going to recognize that this is the period of time where people understand that they have a responsibility to not take their services, their rights, and their freedoms, and all that they enjoy in life for granted, but it's time for them as a generation to fight just as hard as the generations that created those opportunities. And we're engaged in that fight today. Let me tell you two stories that I find incredibly inspiring that represent a piece of each and every one of you. A woman testified that Kathleen and I went to many public hearings. I did a total of 19. I know you did a lot of listening sessions around the state, hearings on the budget, but I went to 19 of them. And in Janesville, these are the exact words of a woman who testified. She introduced herself and said, "Neither I nor any member of my family is a member of a union. I am a freelance writer. My husband and I have 2 sons, and we're very proud of the quality education that our boys received at the Janesville school system and the Janesville High School. I have never done this before in my life. I have never been involved in politics before in my life. Before, I did not know how much I loved Wisconsin until Governor Walker introduced his proposals. In a word, I am heartbroken. I will remain silent no longer. I will remain committed until we restore the Wisconsin we love." That's our cause, and that's our purpose. And that is the pulse, that's the emotion and the heart and soul of this movement that we are all part of. This is the Martin Luther King movement. This is the civil rights movement. These are people who are fighting for justice because they don't want to tolerate injustice and economic lack of fairness. One other individual who testified at this same hearing, a firefighter from Waukesha, who said with a very heavy accent, he said, I've lived in the United States for 8 years. I am a firefighter in Waukesha. I became a resident of the United States of America 5 years ago. I lived in East Berlin. I remember when the wall went down. I know what democracy doesn't look like. I have gone to the Capitol 4 times, and I will continue to go to the Capitol each and every opportunity I have, because Wisconsin does not look like the democracy I saw when I came to live in Wisconsin. I will do all I can to restore that democracy that makes us all so proud. These are the voices from across the state. People who have never expressed them before. It is democracy singing more loudly than any time in 4 decades or even longer. To people, it is personal. They care very deeply about this state. They love this state. They want to make sure that this state is returned in the right direction. That's what this election is all about. And so what you did today is far more valuable than any $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 contribution to Shelley's campaign, although those will help.
Just up to 1,000.
or to Sheila's campaign. The election result isn't going to, they could spend $40 million. People know this state is broken. You're helping repair it. So whatever you did today, you have to multiply it with a few more friends and keep doing this. Dave Hansen's group knocked on 15,000 doors last week in 100-degree temperature. And it wasn't pleasant for you today. But by God, you did God's work, and I am absolutely confident that we are moving in the right direction. Republicans are plateauing, if not going down.
Yay.
And because of we've gone on a little too long, but I want to let Kathleen. If you look at what and ask people why they would want to vote to keep the Republicans in office, you look at what they're doing in Wisconsin. They're using unemployed workers, 44,000 unemployed workers, holding them hostage because they wanted to pretend they were for a bill on extending unemployment compensation benefits, $80 million, $88 million that would have gone to people who have lost their unemployment benefits. And they decided to adopt an amendment we offered to protect the 1-week waiting period and protect those who just got their pink slips, the 27,000 in July who just got their pink slips. And the Republican Fitzgerald brothers agreed to that amendment so the Assembly could disagree, and they could now delay until September any consideration of a compromise. It is cruel, and it is a cynical ploy that demonstrates that they're not deserving of the majority status. And we have got to change that. You watch in Washington, D.C., they're doing the same thing where they're trying to push America over the brink into economic disaster. People say, I have one way to take my government back, and that's to vote in these recalls. And I'm convinced they're going to do it because she's a good candidate. They know things are broken, and people want some equilibrium reestablished in our government. And then let's win in this next recall, and then we're going to go after Scott Walker.
Yes.